Good morning. Hello, beautiful people. Thank God it's Friday. TGIF. How are you guys this morning? Is everybody good? How was your week? Say good morning in the chat. My week was good. Ready for the weekend. Anybody ready like me? Oh my goodness. I have been waiting on Friday since Monday. So I thank God that it is Friday. And I would like to say, welcome back to the Empower Her Experience Podcast. I am your host, Christy Copeland. Welcome. If you've never been on before, this is the place where faith, mental health, and empowerment all collide. And we focus on growth spiritually, naturally, physically, just being the best version of ourselves, y'all. And so today I got another doozy for you. This is something that everybody at some point is going to experience or has experienced. Today's conversation is one that I believe that we can all relate to because it's about change. Let's be honest, change is never easy. So y'all start tagging people, y'all start sharing, some people who've been going through transitions, been going through a hard time because of some things have changed in their life, then tag them. Because we're talking about when change is hard this morning, and it definitely is hard, y'all. At one point I considered myself the transition queen because every time I looked up something, God was transitioning me into something else, and it was exhausting, y'all. So we're talking about when change is hard, and specifically what it looks like when difficulty adjusting turns into something much deeper. And that would be what we call in the mental health field adjustment disorder. Good morning, Miss Sherry, which is one of my specialties in my practice, adjustment disorder. And that's when change is happening and you are having a difficult time adjusting, and it turns into something much deeper than just the woes of change. So y'all tag some people and share this right now because I know this is going to help some people. It is something, as I said earlier, that we're all going to encounter at some point. Even the older we get, our bodies change. We start to have different things to happen with our bodies as we age and things like that. And that can be hard to deal with. And I want to talk about first exactly what is adjustment disorder. This is a stress-related condition that happens when someone has a hard time coping or adjusting to like a major life event, like a stressful event or transition. And the stress becomes overwhelming. And it shows up emotionally and mentally. Sometimes it even shows up physically, like it'll show up in your body as well. And this is more than just having a bad day or feeling off. This is something that lingers. It affects how you show up daily. And it can feel like the change has knocked the wind out of you. I know like several years ago, I was going through this transition. And when I tell you, I did not want to do this, but this was a God thing. I did not want to do it. It was so hard for me. And I didn't realize one day I just couldn't get out of bed one day. I just felt so sad every day. Just felt, good morning, Miss Alice. I just felt so down. And this went on for at least, I know, over a month that this happened. And I just feel like life had just knocked the wind out of me with this change. I didn't want to go through this transition. I didn't want this change. And I was having difficulty adjusting. So it's more than just a bad day. And as I said, it's more than feeling off. This is how you show up. It affects how you show up daily. And it can feel like that change has knocked the wind out of you. So change does not always feel good. But I want someone to know today that change is inevitable, which means we are going to be dealing with change at some point in our life. But I want to talk about why change is so hard. Why change is so hard? Well, change takes us out of what's comfortable. So even if the old way wasn't healthy or ideal, it was known. It was something that we were familiar with. And so uncertainty the unknown brings uncertainty. And good morning, Tashara. And our brains are wired to prefer predictability and safety. So predictability feels safe because it requires less energy and it lowers your stress. Why? Because when I know what I'm doing, when I'm doing what I'm used to doing, this is not something that requires a lot of energy. It doesn't require a lot of brain power. It doesn't require a lot of stress. Why? Because I know what I'm doing. Like when you think about it, when you change jobs, like the job that you were on, you knew that job. You know how to work that job. You know how to do that job with your eyes closed. But then you get into something new. Now it's like, oh my gosh, I got to learn this. I got to figure this out. I got to get this down. Now you're using more brain power and more energy, and your stress level goes up. So change disrupts that rhythm, making your brain go into overdrive, trying to make sense of, okay, what's next? I got to figure this out. I got to get this done. So that's why change is hard. We start to ask questions like, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? What if I lose people in the process of this change? Has anybody ever dealt with a situation where they were having to make a change and they felt like they were going to lose some people in the process? Some people weren't going to be happy with the change. Some people weren't going to like the change. Some people were going to come against you. Good morning, Miss Dee Dee. Welcome. Come on in. And so have you ever felt like you were going to lose some people in the process of change or transition? I wrote this book called Living the Royal Life, and one of the first chapters in this book was called The Challenge of Transition. And I wrote that from a place of being in a challenge of transition. How sometimes when you're leaving people, they're mad because you're leaving the situation, and then you're going into a new situation. The people that you're going to, they mad because they don't want you there. And sometimes it can be challenging. So you kind of feel like you're in limbo. And sometimes you can feel like you're just all out there alone on a limb by yourself. And so sometimes that can be the fear of why we don't want change, or what makes change so hard. And the fear can make us want to hold on to what we know instead of stepping into something new. That is so true. Sometimes we don't even want to. Good morning, Dedrick. We don't want to step into something new because we want to hold on to what we know. And when we don't feel in control, then our anxiety starts to increase. Anybody ever dealt with anxiety or even just feeling anxious? Like it's something about it when you feel like, oh, I got this. I can do this. I'm used to this. This is nothing new to me. You feel in control. But when it's something that's not new, when there's a change that is taking place, you start to spiral because, wait a minute, I don't know this. I ain't never seen this. This doesn't look like it. Yes, I get it, Miss Sherry. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, it can be very hard. And every change requires leaving something behind. This is what a lot of people don't realize. Every change requires leaving something behind. Sometimes it's a role, or sometimes it's a place. Sometimes it's a relationship, or even just the comfort of familiarity. And that loss, it can trigger a form of grief that we don't always recognize. Sometimes we don't even recognize that grief is not just about someone dying. Grief is about a loss. Grief is about leaving something behind that you were used to or that you were familiar with. Even if what's ahead is better, what I know is more comfortable. But so big changes often force us to redefine who we are. And sometimes change challenges how we see ourselves. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Like when someone goes through a divorce, someone can be left wondering, okay, who am I outside of this marriage, because for 30 years I have been Jerry's wife. Now Jerry's gone, or we're divorced. So who am I outside of this marriage? Who am I outside of being a wife? Or they've been on this job for 30, 35 years, and now retirement is coming up. And at Good Morning April, and it brings up the question, who am I outside of this career? Because this is who I am. I've been doing this job for 30 years. I've been doing this job for 35 years. When roles or routines start to shift, it starts to shake your sense of identity. And that can be deeply unsettling until your new identity starts to take root, and then our bodies will react to that change as a form of stress. So the brain releases cortisol, which can make us feel anxious or restless or overwhelmed. Even good stress can be tiring when it's a prolonged time frame. So creating new habits and learning new systems and building new relationships, those things take effort. And so sometimes our brain wants to resist that because our brain wants to conserve energy. So we will naturally lean toward our old routines, even if they don't serve us anymore. Isn't that something, how we'll do that? Like the stress of adapting can feel so exhausting that it makes us want to cling to what's familiar, find all the reasons in the world why this should happen or why we should stay in this, even though what's on the other side of that is better. And so change is hard. Again, I can't stress that enough, but it's also the soil where our growth happens. Like resistance is normal. I'm not telling you that change is easy and that we just gonna want to step into it like, oh my goodness, I'm ready for this. Sometimes we will, because we're so tired of the old and we're tired of what's comfortable and we're tired of being complacent. But most of the time, resistance is normal. But with time, with support, with healthy coping, we can learn to adjust and thrive in new seasons, because we can't become who we're meant to be if we stay where we've always been. Wait, I gotta say that again. We cannot become who we are meant to be if we stay where we've always been. Okay, we got to move. And adjustment disorder can happen in many situations. So as I said earlier, a divorce, a breakup, loss of a job, loss of a career, moving to a new city, maybe a new health diagnosis that you weren't expecting, retirement, and sometimes even positive transitions like marriage, a new marriage, or having a baby, and you've never had a baby before. That's a change. Y'all, the mothers on here know what I'm talking about. It's like a shock when you have been used to going when you want to go, getting up when you want to get up, sleeping, taking naps when you want to sleep, doing what you want to do when you want to do, and you have this little creature here who is dependent on you for every little thing, and you can't even go just jump out of your car and go into the grocery store. You got to unhook them from the car seat and all of those things, like doing all of those. It changes everything, and sometimes it can be very overwhelming. And so life looks different than it used to, and adjusting is your mind and your body struggling to catch up to that new reality. And sometimes and I want to talk about some signs. I told you earlier that I went through a season several years ago of transition, and I did not, when I say I ain't gonna lie, I did not want to do that. I did not want to go through that change. I was so resistant to it. My brain was not trying to hear it. My body was not trying to hear it. My emotions was not trying to hear it. And so I was struggling. I was having difficulty adjusting. And so I want to show you some signs that you may be having difficulty adjusting which could be feeling unusually sad, feeling hopeless, being tearful a lot, constantly worrying or feeling anxious, having trouble sleeping, trouble focusing or concentrating, even withdrawing from people, withdrawing from your family or your friends, because you just can't. I just can't deal with y'all today because I'm having some trouble. I'm going through this difficulty. I'm going through this transition, and I'm not dealing with this adjustment that well. And sometimes even struggling to function, just like at work or at school or even in relationships. So those are some signs that you might have difficulty struggling with your transition or with change. And sometimes, as I stated earlier, you might even feel a sense of identity loss because the change was tied to who you thought you were. Wait, I got to say that again. Sometimes you might even feel a loss of identity because the change was tied to who you thought you were. Wow. Somebody ought to put some fire in the chat with that. And we can feel a sense of identity loss because that change, it starts to make us question everything we thought we were or who we thought we were. Look, but the good news is adjustment disorder is treatable and it's temporary. Okay? Because here are some ways that you can kind of overcome adjustment disorder. One is acknowledging the change. Acknowledging the change. I hear you, April. I hear you. Yes, it has been hard for a lot of people. So much has been happening lately. I've been getting that from a lot of people that change has been so hard or things been so hard. And so I'm praying for you. Don't minimize it. Acknowledge the change. Like y'all are doing now. Yes, it's hard. You don't have to downplay it. You know, I know people want you to not say that you're going through a hard time or that things are tough or that things are rough, but you don't have to downplay it, because one of the ways to get over it is to acknowledge that it's there. You know, you got to give yourself permission to say, this is hard. This is hard. I'm going through a hard season right now, but I know it's gonna get better. You know, or right now I'm in a healing process, or right now I'm in a challenge of transition. But you know what? I'm gonna get through it. It's okay. Yes, it's okay not to be okay. Say that, Miss DD. You know, and so it's okay to let them know, you know what? Yeah, I'm going through a difficult time right now, but it's going to be all right. You know, it's okay to say that. It's okay to acknowledge the change. And then another thing is lean on positive support. Don't isolate yourself. I know they say misery loves company. We don't want the wrong type of company. Okay? So when you're going through a hard time, lean on positive support. Don't isolate yourself. Y'all, I used to be the isolation queen. Let me tell you, the isolation queen. But I got some good friends who knew I was the isolation queen. So if they didn't hear from me after a certain time frame, they were texting my phone. Hey, where you at, sis? I ain't heard from you. What's going on? Because they know if something was going on, I'm going into that shell, going to isolate. So they help bring me out of that thing. But don't isolate yourself. Talk to a trusted friend. Talk to a mentor. Talk to a counselor. Get you a counselor. Get you a therapist. You can have Jesus and a therapist too. I cannot stress that enough. You can have Jesus and a therapist too. Okay? Or even a support group. This is people who share a common situation or common issues. It lets you know you are not alone. Other people got issues too. Everybody got something we dealing with, y'all. Everybody got something they're dealing with. If it's not dealing with people, it might be some internal things, some insecurities, or just the mental processes or anxiety or things like that. Or it could be people on a job or your job or change or transition or moving, you know, or starting something new. We all got something that we're dealing with. So we don't have to isolate ourselves. We can talk to somebody or find somebody who we trust, a safe place. Because every listening ear is not a caring heart. Woo! Wait a minute. Every listening ear is not a caring heart. Somebody put that in the chat. You cannot talk to everybody. You cannot talk to everybody. Because some people got loose lips. And what they say about loose lips sink ships. And they will sink your ship with their loose lips. So you cannot, talk to everybody. So lean on positive support. And then another thing that you can do to overcome this adjustment disorder or difficulty coping with transition or change is engaging in healthy coping. Healthy coping. This is praying, fasting, journaling. I love to journal, pray. Well, of course, I pray and I fast, but I love to journal. Exercise. I love nature walks, y'all. Nature walks is where I can walk. I can talk to God. I can clear my head, watch the squirrels running around up and down the trees, listen to the birds chirping. It's something about that is just so relaxing that it helps me to clear my mind. And even meditating can help release stress. I heard some people say, you know what, meditating, that's the devil. No, it's not. It is not. The Bible talks about meditating. It doesn't mean that you just make everything in your mind go blank and you don't think about anything. The Bible says that I meditated on the word day and night. You can meditate on the goodness of God. You can meditate on how God brought you out before and he's going to bring you out again. Meditating is biblical, y'all. It is not of the devil. Stop letting people tell you that. It is not. Breathe, y'all. Sometimes I just do meditate. I just breathe and thank God for breath. Thank God for my life. And thank God for releasing the stress off of me. Why? Because deep breathing is a natural way that God gave us to cope and to deal with anxiety and to deal with stress and to deal with depression. So don't let people tell you that meditating is of the devil, because it is not. Okay? All right. So healthy coping. Some people have a lot. Some people like to color. Some people like to draw. Another way that I like to cope is music. Y'all, music can pull me out of some stuff. If I'm in a funk, all I got to do is put on some good, uplifting, positive music, and it gets me out of that funk. And I love it. Even put the music on while I'm walking. And guess what? I am not only feeding my spirit something positive, but I'm also working out my physical by walking, and I'm helping my mental because it's clearing my mind, and I'm helping my spiritual. So I'm doing all of that in one. So walking with music, try it sometime. You ain't even got to do it for a long period of time. Even when I'm upset, y'all, even when I'm mad, sometimes I end up having to walk for an hour because it takes about an hour sometimes to calm down depending on the severity of it. But walking helps me even to get through a situation where I'm angry. So engaging in healthy coping. So doing those can help with adjustment and challenging and change. Another thing is setting small goals. Like big transitions can be very overwhelming. Like if you move into a new city, or you're going to a new job, or you're going into a new marriage, like start with setting small goals. Like set manageable goals, break them down into manageable steps as to what you want to start focusing on at this point, rather than focusing on the whole picture, which can be very overwhelming. Just take a piece at a time and decide what you're gonna focus on. Maybe you move to a new city, you want to focus on, let me go around and find out where everything is. Let me just explore and see where things are, and see what areas I want to, maybe places I want to shop, or see where the schools are or the hospitals are, just small things, manageable steps. And then if it's still difficult or challenging to adjust after you've done all of this, I'm going to go back to one of the things I said earlier. Seek professional help. Please seek professional help. Therapy can provide tools and perspective that help you adjust and find stability. And look, if you're having a hard time finding a therapist, let me tell you, go to psychologytoday.com. psychologytoday.com. You can put in your zip code, you can put in your city, and it'll pull up therapists in your area. It'll pull up therapists online if you want to do virtual and don't want to leave your house. And you can look and see the pictures of the therapist. So maybe you want a Latino therapist, you'll be able to see. If you want an African-American therapist, you'll be able to see. If you want a male, you'll be able to see. You'll get to see what they specialize in, or what they, what their focus is, or what they are best at helping, or what their practices, is about. You'll get your information off of there. So seek professional help. So you heard it here, psychologytoday.com. You can find a therapist. Because remember, struggling with change does not mean you're weak. It means you're human. Okay? Somebody put that in the chat. I'm human. I'm human. I'm human. I am human. So just because I'm struggling don't mean I'm weak. Okay? It means I am human. And so when change feels overwhelming, I gotta say this. When change feels overwhelming, because y'all know I'm a believer and I'm spiritual. When change feels overwhelming, God offers peace, y'all. The Bible acknowledges that change is hard. The Bible even acknowledges. So why are we going to think we weak when the Bible even acknowledges it? The Bible acknowledges that change is hard, but it consistently points us back to God's presence, God's peace, and purpose in the middle of transition. Because God doesn't promise that change is going to be easy. He doesn't promise us that, even though he knows he's going to bring us through it, or he can bring us through it. He doesn't promise us that change will be easy, but he does promise that we won't have to face it alone. Now that's good. That right there is comforting. We don't have to face it alone. Somebody drop that in the chat. I am not alone. I am not alone. Yes, Miss Dee Dee. That is Psalm 61:1. That is my favorite scripture. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. That is the scripture that I lean on when I am overwhelmed. Thank you for that reminder. Psalm 61:1. If somebody don't know where that's found, see, I told y'all it's my favorite scripture. I am not alone. And so, and also in his word, another scripture, 1 Peter 5:7, he says, cast all of your cares, all of your anxieties on him, because he cares for you. Change, as I said earlier, often brings anxiety. But this verse tells us that we don't have to carry that weight alone. We can hand it over to God, who cares deeply for us. One of the analogies that I love to use so much is how when camels, so you ever seen like a TV show, or maybe you've been to Dubai or somewhere in the Middle East where you've seen these camels, and how they have the people over there will pack their backs, just pack all this baggage on top of their backs, and walking them through this hot desert, like sometimes like in the middle of nowhere. And during the process of this camel being walked, the camel gets tired. The camel gets hot. The baggage and the luggage that's on his back becomes heavy. It becomes too much for him. So what does the camel do? The camel wants to let his master know, or whoever it is that's taking him on this journey, that this luggage, this pack, it's gotten too much for me. It's hot. It's too much. I'm tired. I need a break. And so what this camel does is this camel will kneel down in front of his master to let the master know, this is too much for me. I need you to take some of this weight off of me. Y'all, and that's what we got to do with God. That's what 1 Peter 5:7 is telling us. Cast all your anxiety, cast all your cares on God because he cares for you. Kneel down before him and let him know, this is too much weight for me, God. I'm giving it to you. Somebody say, give it to God. Give it to God. Give it to God. Hand it over to God. Why? Because he deeply cares for us. And so I want to give you your weekly challenge for the Empower Her Challenge for the week. Y'all know I like to give you a challenge. Write down one change that you're currently going through or that you've recently experienced. And then I want you to identify two feelings, that you've had about this change. So I recently went through a change. Two feelings I had about the change was annoyance and fear. Why? Because it was fear unknown. I didn't know what was on the other side of it. And I was annoyed because I kind of liked where I was at. Didn't want to go through another transition. So I can acknowledge those two feelings that I had during that change. And then write down one healthy coping strategy that you will practice this week to help you adjust. So when I was going through mine, prayer and fasting, walking, music, those were the things that got me through my change and my transition. So this week, that is your challenge. Write down one change that you're currently going through or that you recently experienced. Identify two feelings that you've had about this change, and then write down one healthy coping strategy that you're going to practice to help you adjust with this change or this transition. Okay? It can be scheduling time for prayer. It can be calling a friend. It can be journaling. Or it can be simply giving yourself permission to rest. Sometimes we just need to give ourselves permission to rest. Why? Because change and transition and going to the unknown, it can take a lot out of you. And so you need rest. There's power in rest. Jesus had to rest. We got to rest. There's power in rest. God rested. He created the world in 7 days. God rested. We got to rest. God requires us to rest. It's not optional. It's a requirement. God requires us in his word to rest. And before I wrap this up, thank you, Miss Dee Dee, for putting that in the chat. If you did not get all of the Empower Her Challenge, Miss Dee Dee put it in the chat. Thank you so much. You are so welcome, Miss Dee Dee. I enjoy spending my time with you all and sharing what God has given me or sharing the knowledge and experience that I have. But before I wrap this up, I got some exciting news, y'all. The Empower Her Pajama Party is coming up. Woo! Saturday, October the 18th. Now, y'all, this is limited seating. Let me tell you, last time we sold out. This event, I know a lot of people like pajama party. What's she doing? Y'all, this is not your normal pajama party. So if you're thinking it's like some sleazy event where we're going to be ratchet and all that. Nope. Y'all know me. Y'all know me, or most of y'all should know me. And it was a classy, fun, amazing event. It was actually a life-changing pajama party. So we got to come there. The reason why I want you to wear pajamas, y'all, we always dressing up. We always got to dress up for stuff. I want to be comfortable sometimes and just sit and talk to my girls and not have to feel like I got to have on a full face of makeup and I I want to be comfortable. Y'all, we came comfortable, we came decent, and y'all, we just had a good time. We had some good food, good conversation. It was like one big therapy session. But it was so much fun. We got massages. Y'all, we got a lot of self-care in. I mean, you want to be in the room. I got a treat for you again this time. Y'all, last time we even made our own fragrances and named them. Y'all, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. So, and I got something special for us this time. But Saturday, October the 18th, it's at 5 p.m. From 5 to 9. So we got plenty of time to have a great time. And just because it's 5 to 9, don't think, well, I'll just show up at 7. You're going to miss something because it's good from beginning to end. I will have a night full. We have vendors there so you can do some shopping. And this is going to be at 613 West Cass Street. Y'all, and I have limited vendor spacing as well. Not very many spots available, and I've got people texting me saying, hey, I'm gonna be a vendor, but guess what? First come, first serve. You better get on there. Go to the EmpowHERorganization.com/events. It's on the Empower Her Experience page. Click on that event. Go on there. Go ahead and get registered. Go on and get your seat. It's only, I think it's $25, y'all. That's not much for what you're getting. That's nothing compared to what you're getting. So most people who had this, you're going to pay probably about $100 for what you're going to get. And this year's theme is this theme is Sis, Be Intentional. Be intentional. And boy, I got some doozy. We're going to be intentional with our mental health, intentional with our relationships, intentional in our spirituality, in our professional lives, in our health. You know, it's going to be a night of fun, fellowship, and intentional self-care. There were some ladies who made connections, and I think they're still, like, some ladies came and was like, you know, I left with a new friend. So this is intentional. We're going to be intentional about what we're doing and intentional self-care. And so remember, seating is limited and vendor spots are limited too. So don't wait. Grab your spot now and come ready for some laughter, connection, and empowerment in your comfiest pajamas. So if you were at the last one, then you know what a great time that we had. So you definitely don't want to miss this one. And if you didn't make it to the last one, then you really missed out on an amazing night and you don't want to miss this one. All right. So in closing, remember that change may be hard, but it's not impossible. And you don't have to go through it alone. Yes, I know you heard some good things about it, Miss Dee. It was absolutely amazing. And this one will be no different. And I also want to say thank God for everybody who prayed for me as I went to Massachusetts for the Empower Her in Massachusetts. It was absolutely amazing. It was life-changing. That church, New Beginnings Church of God in Christ, and that country club we were at, those places will never be the same. And the people who were there won't ever be the same. God really came through in that conference. And so I want to thank y'all as always for tuning in to this week's Empower Her Experience podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's our new YouTube channel, the Empower Her Organization Incorporated. It's new, so not very many subscribers on there right now because it's new. But click subscribe to the Empower Her Organization Incorporated and follow us on our Facebook page at the Empower Her Experience page if you have not. New episodes drop on Fridays at 9 a.m. And y'all, until next time, keep rediscovering, keep rebuilding, keep rising, and keep being amazing. I love y'all. Be amazing today and have a blessed weekend. Bye, everybody.